One sentence summary. Shang has daddy issues, his dad has wife issues, his sister has general family issues. Could you beat the villain? Could I beat Wenwu, Shang's dad, who has some mysteriously powerful armband, bracelet, ring things? Yes, I could. If he's got his big old rings on his arm, I'm going to get a big magnet. They look metal. I'm guessing he's going to get stuck to the magnet or something along those lines. He'll look embarrassed. If not, he'll be defeated. How would you improve this film? Why is this another Marvel film where they've got daddy issues? Whose problem is this? Is it Kevin Feige's? I don't know. Shang's dad kills a horse in his intro and then he gets less evil as he goes along. He's supposed to be this immortal terrorist type fella, a bit like Ra's al Ghul or Ra's al Ghul, depending on how you say it, and if you say it wrong. I don't think there's a right way to say that. He's actually just like a very, very sad man in this film. If we'd seen him do some really, really bad stuff, not just in his intro, but throughout the film, then you would be a little bit more scared of him at the end of the film when he's, got to fight his son, as opposed to like, this is just a very depressed man. I feel bad for him. For a film that says, 10 rings in the title, this film gives you absolutely no information about the rings. I kept expecting them to say that the evil monster at the end, spoiler, there's a big CGI monster in this, somehow connected to the 10 rings, or the 10 rings were connected to the magical place, the magical village or whatever. But instead they decide to ignore giving any information about them and just try and set up a sequel in a post-credits scene. They hammered home that Shang and Katie had known each other for many years, too often in too short of a space of time. And Shang and Katie go to a karaoke bar and have a wild, wild night because they're irresponsible. And then the next morning they don't appear to be hungover. Lame. If you're going to be irresponsible, go fully irresponsible. How many pairs of shoes does Shang own? Lots. And how do two car valets working for tips, one of whom appears to live in a converted garage, afford tickets to China just like that? I don't know. Fight on the bus was really the pinnacle of the action in this film for me, and seeing as it was the first fight in the film, I thought the action was going to get better and better and better. But it didn't, which is a bit sad. How does Razor Fist's machete arm work? Because the blade seems to be longer than the bit of arm that it came out of. Shang's sister says that she wasn't allowed to train with the boys, so she trained herself to do what they do, but better. Shang's training involved getting hit with sticks. How did she manage to train herself to get hit by sticks by someone else when there was no one else there? I was surprised that there was so much Trevor from Iron Man 3 in this film, and I was also surprised that we got his backstory twice within about 10 to 15 minutes. Don't know why they did that. I had to look up the character of Death Dealer to find out who they were and what they were called. Visually striking, but we are given absolutely no information about them, so that was weird. How did Wenwu memorize the crazy water map thing, the magical map, and how did Shang's mum install that magical water map thing in Wenwu's complex? How does Wenwu not know that he has a magical creature in his dungeon with Trevor that can act as a map to the magical place that he's been searching for? Also, how does Wenwu not know that the magical village he's looking for is, guarding against the escape of some big monster that lies to people and tries to trick them into freeing him? Why was this not something that his wife mentioned during the years that they were together? I don't know. Escape from Wenwu's complex and they slam a garage door, and the speed that that thing shuts is just dangerous. Someone needs to look into that. Someone's bound to get hurt. How often do the people in the magical village travel to the human world? Because they seem to know an awful lot about specifically these characters who some of them are related to, which I guess I'll allow, but they also seem to know, perfect English. Traditions appear to be pretty similar to the Chinese traditions. They're like, hey, get your car out of here. They're not even like, whoa, that's a fancy new car. We haven't seen one of those for 70 years, because, that's how often our village gets visitors or something. The Tai Chi wind powers, didn't really like that. Shang's aunt doesn't really teach him anything. She's all just like, hey, look within yourself. You're made up of your mother and your father. That kind of vagueness is no help at all. Specifically, teach him how to use the magic wind powers. But, he's mastered them by the end anyway, so it doesn't matter. Shang admits to Katie that he said he couldn't go through with killing the man that killed his mother. But that's not true. And he's, all sad about that. But he has killed people in this film for definite. Like, he's throwing people out of a bus, a moving bus. I know he tried to stop one person falling off the skyscraper, but I'm sure he knocked some other people off. The fact that he's killing people shouldn't really come as a surprise to her. How exactly did Shang, as a 14-year-old, manage to set up a new identity for himself, complete with a passport? Wenwu, he's all talking smack to Shang, and he's like, you just stood there and watched when your mum was killed. He was 7 years old, and he had not yet been trained to fight. So what exactly did you expect him to do? Nothing. Leave it out, pal. Shang is definitely already dead by the time that dragon breathes into his mouth. He gets mouth to mouth from a dragon, sort of. A, the energy blast that knocked him into the sky, then into the water, broke all of his bones, or at least most of them. And then B, he had drowned in the lake. But it turns out he's alive, neither of those things happened, so that's bull honky. Did Wenwu, the former head of a terrorist network for 1,000 years or something, really just sack all of his guards when he decided to give up his life of crime? Because it seemed like those, the Iron Gang, I think it were, they kind of walked into the complex and there was no security at all. Seems like an oversight on him. Xiaoling, I think it is, Shang's sister, her magical rope dart thing, it's not magical, but it sort of is. It kind of extends and shortens and all that sort of stuff. It's like Wonder Woman's lasso that is no particular length and all the lengths at the same time. Didn't like it. Strange to me that when Wenwu and the mum meet, they do this like slow motion looking into their eyes as they're doing a kung fu fight thing. And you're like, wow, that's romantic. And then when Wenwu and Shang are fighting, they also do a slow motion look in the eyes when they're fighting things. So maybe it wasn't supposed to be romantic, but maybe it is. I don't know. I'm not here to judge. What was with the electro weapons that used by the Ten Rings organization? How long do you have to charge up an electric crossbow before you can use it? Just use a normal crossbow. That's my answer. How come Shang manages to survive massive falls with no damage? I didn't think he had superpowers, but apparently he has superpowers. This is also separate to the bit where he definitely drowned in that lake. The Great Protector Dragon guy did not like him at all. So the armour from the magical village, the armour and weapons even, is supposed to be made from the dragon skin. And if an arrow, kind of armed with dragon tooth or dragon, fingernail or whatever, can hurt the big soul-sucking monster when it's fired by a puny human, surely the dragon, who's made out of the dragon skin and stuff, should be able to tear straight through those creatures like they're not even there. Don't understand it. And also, when you're riding on top of a dragon, don't stab the dragon to secure yourself to it, because, it's a friendly dragon. Don't do that. Rating out of 5 beers. I respect that Wenwu was in the late 90s, I would imagine, rolling up his jacket sleeves like he was in Miami Vice, just so he could show off the 10 rings. But the end of this film was a bit, just a rubbish kind of CGI battle, just like all Marvel movies are. So yeah, I'd give this 2 out of 5, which is pretty good,